Hola a todos and welcome back to the channel. You may recall, you might have seen recently that I did a video about buying property here in Spain and the likely costs that might go along with that. And that was all about buying property, and I think I called it 3 Big Lies or something like that. But it got me thinking that in that video I talked about taxes, but what I didn't mention was personal tax. That was all about the taxes you pay when buying a property. But as an individual, you're liable to certain property taxes and personal income tax, whether you live here full time or not. So I thought it might be useful to do a video about personal income tax. So that's what this video is all about. Now, I've got to stress, I am not a tax advisor. This isn't tax advice. Obviously, everybody's circumstances are different. So I'd advise you, if you watch this video and you get maybe just a wee bit concerned about some of the stuff that's in it, I would advise you to get your own tax advisor to take professional advice, because obviously they'll know a lot better than me, some guy wandering about Spain with a camera. But I just wanted to give you an overview in case you hadn't considered it. Now, during this video, I will be referring to some notes, because it is an important subject, obviously, and I don't want to get it wrong. But I will also put the headlines up on some slides as I go through the video. So I hope you find this one useful. Remember to give us a wee like and subscribe, and add in your comments if there's anything you think I've missed or anything that you think is relevant that needed to be included in possibly another video. So let's have a look at some notes. So the first thing is, who needs to pay tax in Spain? Well, the short easy answer is, unfortunately, everyone. And that's whether you live here or not. If you own a property in Spain, you are still liable for some personal taxes, even if you're not a resident. So Spain sort of splits it into two main tax brackets: people who are residents and people who are non-residents. So what I want to do is to take you through the non-residents' tax liabilities first, because there's obviously an awful lot more people that have holiday homes here than who live here full time. So we'll run through the non-residents tax, what that means, and the likely percentages. And again, you have to bear in mind that it varies by province. There are some national rates, but they do vary by province. So check out your own area with your tax advisor. So let's have a look at non-residents tax. So I'm just going to look at the notes here. Non-residents tax applies to any Spanish-sourced income or property, and there's an overall rate of 19% for financial incomes and for any money raised through rental. Now again, that might vary by province, so just check that out for yourself. So rental income, you'll be taxed 19% of that. So if you rent your holiday home, technically you are liable to pay 19% of that to the Spanish government on your tax return. Now they also have something called imputed income, and that's if you own a property but don't rent it, you'll pay tax on what they call a deemed income of around 1 to 2% of something called the cadastral value, and that's a value that's used for tax purposes when every property in Spain will have a cadastral value attached to it. So again, when you bought the house, it'll be somewhere in the deeds, they'll talk about that. You'll also have, if you sell your property, you'll have capital gains tax. You know, and that's usually around 19% if you sell your Spanish property after buying it. And that's the main sort of taxes that you'll be liable for, even if you just own a holiday home. So if you haven't been paying your taxes in Spain and you have owned a holiday home, you could be in for a bit of a shock if you go to sell it. And then all of a sudden the Spanish government are looking for all this back tax. So have a look at non-residence tax, even if you don't rent out the property. Now bear in mind the amount is quite a small amount, it's only 1 to 2% per year, but nevertheless it's still important that you've been paying it. Now people then say, well, how do I pay it? Well, the thing to consider is the Spanish tax year starts on the 1st of January and runs through to the 31st of December. And then you have to pay any tax due between, I'm sure it's the 1st of May up to the end of June is when the tax payment window opens. So anything due for 2025 is going to be coming up between May and June of 2026. So again, keep that in mind. Now, obviously, there are some other things to consider. You have a double taxation treaty between Spain and the UK, so you're not going to pay tax twice. But the other thing to consider is there are absolutely no personal allowances for non-residents. So don't think you can be allowing costs for things. That doesn't work like that. And the key thing to remember as a non-resident is owning property alone triggers an obligation to pay the imputed income tax even if you're not renting it. Okay, so if you haven't been paying, you might have a tax bill. So let's move on to residence tax. So if you're a Spanish resident, you have to pay personal income tax on worldwide income, and it's a progressive tax with different regional rates. Again, I'm reading from notes here, reaching up to 48% on higher incomes. You know, it starts around 19% of your earnings on a sliding scale up to 48. Residency is simply determined by spending over 183 days in Spain, or by having family or economic ties in Spain. You know, that means if you work away and you've got a wife and kids here in Spain, then you're still liable to pay tax in Spain. So, to simplify, if you ask the question, who is a Spanish tax resident? Anyone who spends over 183 days in Spain during a calendar year, so that's 1st of January to 31st of December, or have your main economic interests or family, spouse, underage children in Spain. Okay, so having established that you're a tax resident, what do you pay tax on? Well, as a resident, you're taxed on your global income. That includes any employment income, any rental income, any capital gains, so investments, property sales, interests on savings and dividends. These are all taxable. As I say, it starts around 90% up to the first €12,500, and then on a sliding scale, but there are some regional variations to take into account. The allowance is somewhere around €5,500 personal allowance, and I think that steps up to over just to 6,500, sorry, once you reach 65. Also, like non-residence tax, you could be subject to capital gains tax if you sell your property, and also a wealth tax. So if you're an individual with worldwide assets over 700,000 euros, on average, again some regional allowances, then you could be subject to wealth tax as well. There's also something called the Beckham Law, and you know, that's a special regime for new residents like digital nomads to pay a flat rate on Spanish source income, deferring tax on foreign income for a period. And I think, you know, it's a special set of rules for that, so you'll definitely need to look at a tax advisor if you want to put in the Beckham Law. Now that's a quick overview of the tax regimes here in Spain for non-residents and residents. The other one that's easy to miss is between the 1st of January and the 31st of March, you must declare your worldwide assets on a form called a Modelo 720. Now that's, you only do it once, and if you've got assets, global assets of more than 50,000 euros, you need to declare this in the first period after the tax year that you came in. You need to declare your worldwide assets to the Hacienda, to the Spanish tax people. And that's everything. Any income, you know, global property, any shares that you have, any savings that you have, any income, everything, the whole lot. And the thing you've got to be careful of is that when you do your tax return, which is separate to this, those two must match. They must agree. There can't be any discrepancies in there. And if you don't declare something and it's subsequently then discovered by the Spanish tax authorities, there are big fines. So you have to make sure you declare everything. It's not worth the risk not to, for the tax penalties and anything else that can go along with that, which I'm not sure. So anyway, obviously tax in Spain is a complex subject, and to get the full detail of it, you're going to require the services of a proper Spanish tax specialist. And I would also make sure that you employ the services of a specialist who understands the tax in your own home country as well, because there are some double taxation agreements in place that I said, and it's making sure that you have someone who fully understands the double taxation agreement to make sure you're not paying twice, because it's bad enough having to pay tax once without paying it twice. So anyway, hope that it all makes sense. It's, as I say, it's not advice. It might not even be 100% correct, so I'm just waiting for all the tax experts to come on and say, you're giving incorrect advice out on YouTube. I'm not giving any advice. I'm simply trying to give you a heads up to the potential tax liabilities that you may face, even if you're just a holiday homeowner here in Spain, that you might not be aware of. That's the key thing. Anyway, we'll stop waffling now. So as always, hope you liked it, and if you did, you know, just click on like and subscribe. Make sure you add your comments, because the YouTube algorithms love a bit of engagement. So, you know, put in your comments and I'll do my best to answer them all, but it's getting harder and harder now as the channel grows. So if I haven't answered your comment, it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's simply that I've missed it. This subscribe button is down below the video. It's absolutely free, it never costs you anything. All you need to do is put in your email address and just create a password for the YouTube account, which is free. It'll never cost you a penny. So please do that. Please continue to watch the videos, and we'll see you all in the next video. Hasta luego.